While I was partying at the bar, my beautiful advisor suddenly messaged me on WeChat, "What are you doing?" I immediately replied, grinding on my thesis late at night. "What else?" "What? It's almost killing me." My advisor replied, "That sounds tough." I asked back, "And what about you, ma'am?" She replied, "I'm relaxing at a bar, right behind you." I whipped my head around and instantly caught sight of a woman amidst the neon light, whose elegant aura felt completely out of place. My advisor, the Kiangsu, she narrowed her long, slender eyes slightly and gestured toward me with her glass, looking playful. I felt a cold sweat break out across my back immediately. My brain was working overtime. My buddy Hee Chong, sitting next to me, gave me a nudge. "What are you staring at like an idiot?" He followed my gaze and looked over. "Holy crap, is that the... How is she even more stunning than back in high school?" That's right, the Kiangsu and I were high school classmates. We even dated for a while back then. Then we broke up when she went abroad to study. The breakup was quite messy at the time. Flash forward to 6 months ago. I quit my job to focus on grad school entrance exams and successfully got in. After everything, the Kiangsu actually ended up being my master's advisor. I'm screwed. I just had the audacity to say I was revising my thesis. I let out a wail of despair. Hichong gazed at me with sympathy. He patted my shoulder firmly. "Gee, luck. I hope she goes easier on you than she did in high school." My mind immediately flashed to that thesis proposal she rejected countless times, and those incredibly sharp-tongued comments in the file. "Did you eat poisonous mushrooms? Is that why your logic is so insane?" These few sentences are quite brilliant. I suggest deleting them all. I'm truly puzzled. Are you trying to filter out the gold and keep the garbage? I can tell. You're the one posting all those troll comments online, aren't you? As Chimi went by, not only did the Kingshu's beauty skyrocket, but her talent for being devious and sharp-tongued reached perfection. I had no choice but to brace myself and grab my glass, slowly shuffling over to her table. "Oh, what a coincidence to see you here. Are you doing academic research in a bar?" She arched an eyebrow. I squeezed out an awkward, fake smile. "Isn't it because writing is too brain draining? I came out to find some inspiration." She looked up with an expression that was hard to read. "Do you hang out in places like this often?" Without even blinking, I immediately switched to shift the blame mode. No way! I was going to stay home and grind on my thesis. But Hichong insisted on dragging me here. The Kiangsu glanced thoughtfully into the distance. The completely clueless Hit was still excitedly waving his fist to cheer me on. "Sorry about this. In a crisis. Aren't brothers meant to be human shields?" "Kiangsu, who is this handsome guy?" Yi Qianshu, female companion, across the table leaned in, full of gossip. "My graduate student, Yuan," the companion was clearly tipsy and hyped up. She slapped her thigh and cried out, "Yuan Yi! Isn't that the first love who dumped you?" As soon as those words were out, the air around us instantly froze. Only the Kwangsu acted as if nothing had happened. She scrolled through her phone screen and spoke nonchalantly. "Your husband just messaged me asking where you are. You can get lost now," and explain to him about your academic conference at the bar. The woman jumped in fright, instantly sobering up quite a bit. "No way! Girl, you're throwing me under the bus." She scrambled to leave, muttering as she went, "My husband is definitely going to kill me. The Kiangsu, you're absolutely heartless." I watched the poor lady make her tragic exit. When I turned back, I found the Kiangsu staring at me with a half smile. Her stare made my skin crawl. "Ooh, Professor E, let me buy you a drink." I quickly clinked my glass against hers, tipped my head back, and downed it in one go. The Kiangsu frowned slightly and snatched the empty glass right out of my hand. "Fine. Stop drinking. What kind of mess do you become after drinking? Don't you have any self..." I blinked guiltily. Images of our high school graduation party flashed through my mind. I got wasted that day, forced a kiss on her, and in return, she slapped me across the face. What's wrong with you? Everything was fine. Why bring up those ancient stories? I rolled my eyes. The Kingsu had a smile playing on her lips. She asked back, "Did I say anything just now?" I was suddenly speechless and could only wave my hand in frustration. The drink is done? I'm heading out. Wait, what? Now? That paper on AI applications in short dramas, finish the revisions and email it to me by noon tomorrow. What on earth? I totally lost it. My point is, you can comfortably work on your thesis at the bar tonight. I stood there completely stunned. This was destined to be a soul-crushing, sleepless night. Gritting my teeth, I downed 3 large glasses of black coffee. At 11:59, I threw that pile of revised academic trash into the Kingsu's inbox. I intentionally changed the subject line to a work of heart and soul. Please review, dear advisor. That's right. I was purposefully trying to annoy her. As the saying goes, if you don't look for trouble, trouble won't find you. The next afternoon, it happened to be the Kingsu's major course. During the break, she logged into her email without any hesitation. The whole class watched with wide eyes as the big screen popped up with that provocative email of mine. The classroom instantly erupted into chaos. That email title is way too flirty. I'm dying laughing. The sender is Yuan. Man, he's a legend. As expected of a direct student, please, I really want to click and see. What kind of crazy content is in there? The Kingsu lowered her gaze, staring at the computer screen with an icy face. The finger she used to move the mouse didn't click close. Instead, she maximized the window to full screen. She glanced at me from across the room, her lips curling into a dangerous arc. Very well. For the second half of the class, we will use this thesis as a negative example to discuss formatting standards in detail. Inside the classroom, her cold and oppressive voice came through the crackling speakers. I wanted nothing more than to bury my head in the desk and scroll through my phone, pretending to be dead. In my head, I had already cursed the Kingsu's ancestors for 18 generations, thanks to her. The entire department got to see my extraordinary academic masterpiece. But in all fairness, it was actually written halfway decently. After all, the Kingsu's feedback was cutting and precise, and the logic was much tighter after the revisions. When the bell rang after class, she called me aside. There's an academic seminar next week. You're coming with me. In such a high-level event, why take an academic slacker like me to take you out and broaden your horizon? I'm not even afraid you'll embarrass me. What do you have to be afraid of? Then I thought about it again. Even if someone really gets embarrassed, it's the Kingsu who loses face. Anyway, it's a gathering of all the big shots. The buffet must be top tier, right? My eyes light up. The Kingsu shoots me a disgusted look. This is about as ambitious as you'll ever get this life. Week later, we checked into the star-rated hotel arranged by the organizers. As soon as the Kingsu landed, she got dragged off by several colleagues from the academic circle to have coffee. I, on the other hand, took off running, headed straight for the luxurious seafood buffet in the hotel. I immediately zeroed in on the last Boston lobster on the buffet table, swallowing my saliva, just about to grab it with the tongs, when suddenly a hand shot out next to me, snatching up that plump lobster with lightning speed. How could I let that slide? I turned angrily, glaring at the food snatcher who didn't know what was good for them. It was Guan Xian. Standing in front of me was my close upperclassman from college. "What are you doing here?" I asked, face full of surprise. "I'm here with my PhD advisor for some experience. Obviously, I'm in Europe for my doctorate now. Finally made it big." What about you, Junior? I'm also here with my master's supervisor for an academic exchange. You sure you're here to study? She gave me a half-amused glance at the mountain of food on my plate, acting like you really came for the conference. I fired right back without missing a beat, my spoils on the plate. The two of us exchanged a knowing glance, quickly found a window seat, and sat down. Time to catch up. When Guanxian heard my advisor was the king, her eyes almost popped out. That's the famous Demon King the people would kill for a chance to work under him. How did you manage to get in? I was at a loss for words. No way I could tell her that I shamelessly begged for a spot hanging on to the Kiangshu's coattails, right? So I immediately put on a mysterious expression. Maybe because he has a discerning eye and noticed my hidden academic potential. Guanxian squinted and gave me a thorough once-over. Wipe that sauce off your mouth before you brag. That would make your story more convincing. My smile froze instantly. Hurriedly wiped my left cheek with my hand. Wrong side. It's on your right, she said, rolling her eyes, and very naturally reached over to wipe the stain from the corner of my mouth. Her slightly intimate gesture left me a bit dazed. I instinctively touched the spot she'd brushed. Guanxian, on the other hand, seemed totally She continued our conversation as if nothing happened, saying, "That's really a shame. If you'd gotten into a university too, we could keep hanging out and goofing off together. What's there to regret about that?" That cold line didn't come from me, but drifted over from behind me. The Kingshu's voice. "Allow me to introduce you. This is my advisor, and this is my college buddy, Guanxian." The Kiangsu pulled out a chair and sat next to me. Guanxian instantly switched to her social smile. "Professor, I've heard so much about you." The Kiangsu nodded coldly in response. "Hello, Yuanye? Has he been giving you a hard time? My junior has been a real handful since undergrad." I stared at Guanxian in disbelief at how shameless she was acting. That was not the attitude you had just now. You two were pretty close before. The Kingshu's knack for zeroing in on key points was as sharp as ever. Guanxian struck a thoughtful pose, teasing with a smile. "This kid used to stick to me every day, always using my meal card to bum food and drinks." I rolled my eyes at her show-off act. He really is a good guy. Just loves to make a scene for himself. Can't help but add drama. I quickly cut in. "Enough catching up, senior. Can you please give me back that lobster?" Now, thrown off by my interruption, Guanxian could only shake her head helplessly. She carefully peeled the lobster meat, then pushed the plate piled with shrimp toward me. "Go ahead. Eat up." Reincarnated starving ghost. My heart soared with joy. That's when I noticed the Kiangsu hadn't said a word for a while. I turned to look. She was propping her chin with one hand, watching Guanxian and me with keen interest. There was no expression on her face. But my back felt a sudden chill. I quickly elbowed the Kiangsu. "Why aren't you getting something to eat?" The Kiangsu. "Want to share mine. I got a lot." "All right," without even looking up. She took the plate of lobster meat I'd just been handed and started eating at her own pace. I was speechless. "I meant for you to get your own food, not just take my hard-won prize." While my heart was bleeding, I started to sense the atmosphere getting awkward. Guanxian coughed lightly, trying to break the ice. "Professor, what do you think of Yuani's foundation?" "Ah, total mess," the Kiangsu replied without a hint of hesitation. I glared at her in outrage, but she didn't even spare me a glance. Guanxian chuckled softly, then started to stir the pot. "Don't be fooled by how he looks now. Back in college, he had tons of girls after him." I raised my chin proudly at the "Nice. Keep going." "Help me look good." The Kiangsu still didn't look at me. Just casually asked, "Really? How many did he actually date?" "Not even one. He tells everyone he still can't get over his first love who died unexpectedly. I almost spit out blood. Who told you to mention that? The Kingshu's hand holding the fork froze suddenly, finally turning her head at last, and stared me down hard. What did you say? Guanxian, oblivious as ever, kept sighing to the Kingsu. Yuanye really is a romantic. His first love has been gone for so many years, and he still lights paper for her in his dreams. I clenched my fists tight, struggling not to throw Guanxian out the window right then and there. I forced out a smile uglier than crying. Enough. Guanxian, please just shut up. Guanxian froze for a second, looking at me apologetically. Sorry, Yuanye. I thought after all these years, you'd gotten over it. Gotten over what? Who even dwells on their first love these days? Haha, it's ancient history now. I didn't dare look at the Kiangshu's expression at all, just praying she wouldn't dig any deeper. She must have been a really gentle girl when she was alive. Guanxian even looked at me with the sympathy usually reserved for tragic love stories, like I was the ultimate romantic disaster, staring right at me. I'm literally about to lose it. Suddenly jumped up from my chair. That senor! I just remembered something urgent I need to talk to you about. Come out with me for a minute. But in the very next second, the Kiangsu grabbed my wrist. Each word was like ice as she spoke. You went around telling people, I'm totally dead, huh? Guanxian was stiff like a block of wood in his seat. His pupils were shaking like a magnitude 10 earthquake. Yutu Kiangsu turned to look at him. Her lips curled into a chilling, creepy smile. Really sorry about this. I'm that tragically short-lived first girlfriend. Guanxian's expression looked like he'd just swallowed a greenhead fly alive. His eyes were full of confusion and terror as he looked at me. Now, my own situation is even more desperate. All I can do is stare hopelessly at the crystal chandelier on the ceiling, praying it'll fall and kill me right now. It's fate. The Kiangsu tilted her head slightly, like she was enjoying a good show. Why are you just standing there? Keep gossiping. Under the table, I stomped hard on Guanxian's foot, frantically making faces at him, hinting he needs to figure out how to escape. Guanxian gritted his teeth from the pain. His eyes were stupidly innocent. Several seconds passed before he suddenly realized. He scrambled to grab his bag. Oh, I just remembered. The advisor needs me. You guys keep chatting. I watched him flee, twitching at the corners of my mouth. Just wait. I'm cutting ties with you when we get back. The air around us instantly dropped to freezing. I felt like I was sitting on needles. The Kiangsu picked up the steak knife. She elegantly sliced the steak on her plate. The sound of the blade scraping the porcelain. It felt like I was being tortured with 1,000 cuts. Don't you have any last words for me? My brain short-circuited instantly, blurting ouchie, surprised? Right? Bet you weren't expecting that. Smack the Kiangsu slammed the knife and fork hard on the plate. I swallowed nervously in fear. Maybe I should just use her steak knife to off myself right here. The Kiangsu shot me an icy glare, immediately froze my restless hands in place. I quickly lowered my head and gave in. I really messed up. I swear to God. I was just talking nonsense at the time. Didn't mean it at all. The Kiangsu's tone was clearly angry. She cut me off with a cold voice. Back then, the one begging for a breakup was you. But in those chilly eyes of hers, I couldn't find a trace of warmth now. My whole body stiffened, and my thoughts were dragged back to that year. The night we broke up. That year, college exam results were announced. I totally bombed it. Barely made the cut for second-tier universities. Forget getting in with the Guangsu to the same top school. I couldn't even reach the threshold for prestigious universities. During that Chimi, I was completely down, crushed by overwhelming insecurity and defeat. The Kiangsu tried different ways to comfort me every day, solemnly promising, even if we can't go to Beijing, other cities have good schools too. He even promised, no matter which city I chose, He'd apply to schools there with me. But later, I found out from some gossipy classmates the Kyungshu's parents had already arranged everything for her to study abroad. Seeing this, Kwansu recommends a hidden gem case to everyone. TikTok, best case pick, with lots of commentary videos like mine. Top quality selection of videos. Browse one during your downtime. It's so relaxing. You can watch or just listen. It even has a timer. Super convenient. If you enjoy commentary, give it a try. While I'm the official boyfriend, I was absolutely clueless like an idiot. The night I found out the truth, I told him coldly that we should break up. He just frowned slightly after I said that. Didn't take it seriously at all. I know you've been stressed lately, but don't use breaking up to blow off steam. My head's been exploding these past few days. Busy thinking how to hide the study abroad from me. I sneered. Who told you those rumors? He sighed, patiently reached out, wanting to grab me. Studying abroad was my parents' decision. I'll figure out a way to cancel it. Can you please stop freaking out with me? He said and tried to hug me. I recoiled suddenly, like I'd been shocked. Avoided his touch. Forget it. Just focus on being your top student. Someone like me can't possibly keep up. The Kyungsoo was completely stunned. What do you mean by that? I've been the one desperately chasing after you all along. How do you pretend not to be tired? I'm tired just watching you. The Kyungsoo's gaze turned cold in an instant. She interrupted me impatiently. Are you done with your tantrum? I can treat tonight as you're just flipping out. Go back and calm down, will you? I'm perfectly clear right now. I have to admit, that night, my words definitely came from frustration and stubbornness. But that was also the first time I saw how hopeless the class gap between us really was. Even if we barely managed to hold on, how many more years could we last? I didn't want to watch the Kyungsoo compromise for me and forcibly break her own wings. Even more scared of facing my useless pride, and between OSC, that barrier I could never cross with this off-balance relationship. I totally lost the courage to fight for it. Just wanted to run away. The Kyungsoo listened and let out a bitter, self-mocking laugh. Yuanye, you were the one who shamelessly pursued me back then. Now you're telling me it's over. Seriously, the look she gave me was full of exhaustion and disappointment. I looked straight into his eyes, thinking 1,000 times about slapping myself twice. Then, changing my mind, I wish I could just joke around like before, brush it off with humor, and get out of this mess. But that damned pride choked me so hard I couldn't speak. And the words came out as the most hurtful blade, because I honestly find you boring now. I don't want to drag this out any longer. The Kyungsoo stared at me intensely for a full minute, then finally nodded slowly in an icy cold tone, without the slightest hint of emotion. Yuanye, you'd better never regret what you said today. With how torn we were then. The classic ending would be never seeing each other again. That's truly how it was supposed to end. I looked up, staring at the Kyungsoo who was judging me coldly. Her expression was exactly like the night we broke up. I gave a self-deprecating smirk. My voice was flat. Yeah, but didn't you agree without hesitation back then? The Kyungsoo heard that and actually laughed from anger. Great. He suddenly leaned back in his chair. His tone was full of mockery. Yuanye, all these years, late at night, you never thought you were a jerk. I clenched my teeth and stayed stubbornly silent. The Kyungsoo turned her head aside, let out a barely audible, cold laugh. Guess I was blind for taking someone like you seriously. He slammed the crumpled napkin in his hand hard onto the table, walked out in high heels without looking back. It wasn't until the last day of this academic conference the Kyungsoo didn't say a single word to me. It was Guanxian, the carefree one, who showed up every day to eat with me. Your Professor Yi's still giving you the cold shoulder.
What about you?
I took a big bite from the pizza Guanxian handed over, shrugged indifferently. She just honestly doesn't like me. It's not a big deal. You've got me, your senior, covering for you, right? I rolled my eyes at him disdainfully. Guan Siwing, if you hadn't left me alone in the fire that day, I'd maybe still call you a good senior. Kuchi Irauchi. You didn't see the look he gave me back then. I felt like I'd be torn to pieces any second. Guan Siwing. While talking, he exaggeratedly hugged his arms and pretended to shiver. I really can't stand his dramatic antics. I pushed him hard, but he took the chance to grab my wrist. Don't worry, JR. We're all going our separate ways tomorrow. Tonight, your senior will show you the world. I looked at him suspiciously. Tonight, my advisor was invited to a private dinner. I'll take you to crash an upscale meal. Forget it. That's the kind of place where titans clash. Why would an outsider like me join the chaos? It's packed with big shots inside. No one will even notice a nobody like you. Relax and stick with me. I was still a little hesitant. Guancian immediately played his trump card. Rumor has it the host even flew in. A Michelin 3-star chef from France. My eyebrow shot up. My face instantly plastered with a bootlicking grin. Say no more. For the rest of my life, I only trust you. Guancian is like a real sibling, even if we're not related. Luckily, just to look presentable before leaving the house, I'd purposely packed a set of decently fitting casual suit in my suitcase. I fixed my hair, then wandered over to the hotel lobby to wait for Guan Sihun, bored out of my mind. I suddenly caught sight of the Kiangsu in a perfectly tailored gown. Her entire aura turned all the way up. She was East-Cold and stunning. I was doing intense mental prep, debating whether to go over and say hi. A guy in a flashy suit, sleek and handsome, walked straight over. He very naturally walked right next to her. The Kiangsu didn't even get mad. She actually let the guy follow her. The two of them walked out the hotel, revolving doors side by side. My heart instantly felt like it was drowning in vinegar. So jealous. I was bubbling over. Even my excitement for Michelin food vanished instantly. Nice one, bro. I turned around. Guancian whistled at me in an exaggerated way. Didn't think your broad shoulders and slim waist would make you look so much like a forbidden cool guy in a suit. You'd better not be teasing me. I grabbed his paw just as he tried to slap my shoulder. Coochie the crap. Lead the way. Tonight I'm turning heartbreak into appetite. Gonna eat my fill. Who cares about the Kiangsu or that pretty boy? In this world, there's no disaster a good meal can't fix. Excuse me, but your names aren't on the guest list. You can't come in. The black-clad guard at the door was like a wall, blocking our way without mercy. Guancian and I stared at each other in disbelief. Weren't you just promising no one would check the list? I meant, once we got inside, nobody checks. Can you be useful for once? You con artist. Guancian chewed his nails, pacing in a panic. Don't panic. Let me find our inside contact. There we were standing at the banquet entrance like fools, looking like absolute idiots. Enduring the stares of all the passing via utterly hopeless, I tugged his sleeve. Forget it, Guancian. Let's just go back to the hotel and eat instant noodles. He clung to my arm desperately. Don't bail now, the foie gras and caviar are right behind that door. Waving H-E-U. I raked my hair in frustration. Suddenly, I felt nauseous. All I wanted was to go crash on a bed. Give me 1 more minute, and I'll fix this. I swear. A voice suddenly rang out. Guancian's eyes lit up like he'd seen his savior. His eyes were shining. Professor Zhao. I lazily lifted my eyelids and saw the guy with the Kiangsu from earlier. The man in the suit. Kian Kui. At that moment, she acted like I was invisible. He ignored Zhao Ran's presence entirely and walked straight for the bouncer. The bouncer immediately bowed respectfully. Professor, the Mr. Su has been waiting for you inside. Zhao Ran gave me a critical once-over and grinned at Guancian in a very suggestive way. Why are you two just hanging out at the entrance? Brought your boyfriend along, too. Guanxian clung to him, like he was grabbing a lifeline, signaling wildly. Professor Zhao, have some mercy. The two of us don't have an invite. We're totally stuck here. Zhao ran through his hands up, pretending to surrender. He spoke in a sarcastic tone. Even I can't break the rules. The Kiangsu stood in the resplendent foyer and coldly tossed out, "Get in here." Guanxian reacted immediately, yanking my arm and dragging me inside. The bouncer tried to stop us, but a single cold glare from the king shut him right up. I became a starving wolf, ravenously devouring everything on the buffet table out of spite. Guanxian poked hard at my cheeks, stuffed like a hamster. "Weren't you complaining about being nauseous just now?" I was about to roll my eyes and snap back, but then I suddenly choked up. I banged on my chest desperately, my eyes rolling back from lack of air. Guanxian panicked, thumping my back while pouring a glass of juice into my mouth. "Are you a starving ghost or what? No one's fighting you for food." With my face flushed red from coughing and all dignity gone, I looked up and locked eyes with the Kiangsu. She just gave me a cold glance through the crowd, then turned away to chat with some old professors. "What's with the icy attitude?" I licked the juice off my lips and couldn't help but think this really was a top-tier party. Even the fresh squeezed orange juice hit the spot. I grabbed a glass of champagne and nudged Guanxian with my elbow. "That Professor Zhao Yu, cold who is he anyway? He's notorious in our circle as a massive player. And the youngest male professor, the youngest professor ever. Why does this plot sound so familiar?" Guanxian gave me a meaningful look. "That's right. He studied under the same advisor as your the king. But the Kiangsu is such a once-in-a-century prodigy, a true rarity. I stayed up all night in A&O reading her dissertation back in the day. It was sheer genius." I quickly made a cut-it-out gesture. "Okay, stop it. I'm not asking for a fan letter. Why are you so obsessed with him lately? This is genuine academic worship, okay? Let me tell you." Back then, his phone started vibrating like crazy. "Damn, my advisor's pissed. Gotta hurry over and check in." I shoot him off like a fly, telling him to scram immediately. Once Guanxian slipped away, I kept wandering around the place like a ghost, snacking and grabbing things as I went. Spotted some fancy fruit wine bottles, so I grabbed a few without hesitation, then drowned my frustration in food, and ate and drank to my heart's content. The alcohol hit me, and I ended up a little tipsy, full and drowsy. I passed out on a couch in the lounge. When I opened my eyes again, the Kingshu's sour face was right in front of mine. It couldn't get any nastier. She saw me wake up. The Kiangsu said speechlessly, "You're something else. Where's that senior of yours?" I shook my head. "I don't know. She's probably still busy." "Are you finished?" The Kiangsu stared at me intently for a few seconds. She finally compromised with a look of impatience. "Let's go back to the hotel to rest." Just as we were getting into the car, I saw Zhao Ran rushing over in a hurry, trying to grab the Kiangsu to talk to her. The Kiangsu avoided his hand with a face full of disgust, ducking into the car with extreme agility. At the moment, the car door closed. My gaze and Zhao Ran's collided fiercely in midair, in that kid's eyes. Jealousy and hostility were written without any disguise. After the car started, I really couldn't hold it in and nudged the Kiangsu with my elbow. "What's the deal with that guy?" The Kiangsu closed her eyes to rest, ignoring me completely. "It looks to me like the relationship between you two is quite special." I drawled in an extremely sarcastic tone. "He's just a direct junior who I subbed for a few days. Stop imagining things that aren't there. I couldn't tell you were so popular." The Kiangsu said, "Cross. Do you think everyone else is as blind as you? In this world only you annoy me this much. I was slightly stunned. My mind racing. It was indeed true. From the day I met her when I transferred in high school, she had always been this cold and abstinent, adding to the fact that she was a genius student. Others only looked at her with respect and admiration, but with me, she suffered one blow after another. Almost all the dark history of her life was inextricably linked to me. The first chimney, she was shamelessly cornered in a hallway by a boy confessing his love. The first time in public, someone pointed at her nose and called her. The first time being pinned against a wall and kissed forcefully. The first time being dumped. I suddenly felt all of this was absurdly funny. To people from completely different worlds, actually stayed entangled until today. Ki in shui. She clearly heard the suppressed laughter in my throat. I keenly sensed her gaze turning toward me. Inside the dim car cabin, those pitch black eyes of hers appeared exceptionally bright and resentful. I seriously doubt now if I've placed you too high in my heart. The car stopped steadily outside the hotel's revolving doors. I was still thinking about the meaning of what the Kyungsoo had just said. The two of us walked one after the other. Neither of us speaking. Even the air felt weirdly tense. Right then, the phone in my pocket vibrated abruptly. It was a call from Guanxian. Where are you? I don't see a sign of you. I'm alive and well, already back at the hotel. Don't go upstairs yet. Wait for me in the lobby for 5 minutes. I have something very important that I must explain to you in person. Fine, I'll wait for you downstairs. I quickly hung up the phone and shouted to the Kyungsoo who was walking ahead. When Sion has something urgent for me, I'm going to meet him in the lobby. Go up by yourself first. After saying that, I turned to walk toward the lobby bar. Yuan, the Kyungsoo's voice was bone-chillingly cold, instantly freezing my steps. Get over here. Her unquestionable superior tone instantly awakened the submissive DNA from my high school days. When I was dominated by her with extreme cowardice, I shifted my steps and stood before her timidly. She stared at me. Her tone icy. Did I go through all this trouble to bring you out for academic exchange or for you to go on a blind date? I swallowed hard and recklessly retorted halfway. Didn't you let me come to see the world and get some free food and drinks? The air around us was instantly sucked dry. I felt with absolute clarity that the Kyungsoo was currently on the verge of losing it. Out for a full 5 days. And you haven't even handed in a single word of an academic report. Every day you're joined at the hip with Guanxian mooching around, arms around each other, and even openly attending private dinners together. What do you really see him as your new flame? Sister, didn't you start giving me the silent treatment first? The Kyungsoo narrowed her eyes slightly, her gaze filled with fatal allure and undisguised threat. Since you're so reluctant to leave him, how about I give the president of DA University a call tomorrow and pack you off there to live happily ever after with your dear senior. Holy shit, that's possible too. I asked out of genuine shock from my soul. I knew the Kyungsoo's status in academic circles was terrifying, but this kind of power play was completely beyond the comprehension of an ordinary student like me. This is just too surreal. The hostility in the Kyungsoo's eyes exploded instantly. She suddenly reached out, gripping my wrist tightly. I keenly sensed danger, feeling that if I didn't retreat now, I would definitely be torn to shreds by her tonight. I immediately adjusted my posture, my eyes darting around frantically, looking for an escape route. She locked on to my eyes, warning me one word at a time. If you dare step out of this door to find him tonight, things between us will be dead for good. Hearing this harsh remark, the rebellious bones in my body instantly made a tooth-aching, grinding sound, as if they were screaming wildly. Talk back to her. You want be a man. I felt as if I were possessed by some indescribable power in an instant. I took a sharp breath and spoke words that cut to the heart. Our mess. Wasn't it already dead and gone back when you held that study abroad note and were flying all over the world? It's been dead for a long time when I got lost back then. You were probably secretly relieved to finally get rid of tag along like me, right? The Kyungsu suddenly flung my hand away, her chest heaving violently, her eyes actually turning red with suppressed emotion. Did you feed your conscience to the dogs? If I really wanted to dump you back then, I wouldn't have, right in front of my parents, torn up offers from 7 top Ivy League schools. A year ago, I wouldn't have given up the resources of a top laboratory to force my way back home, let alone use 5 core science papers as bargaining chips just to trade for a slot to be your advisor. I was struck as if by lightning, my head buzzing. Are you crazy? Wasn't it because I shamelessly begged you that you reluctantly took me in? Is your brain filled with mush? Do you really think there are so many coincidences in the world that it just so happened I was at the school you applied to, that it just so happened I could legitimately become your supervisor? Her voice even carried a trace of an undetectable tremble. Yuandi, I've waited for you for a full 6 years. Hearing the Qianchu's final sentence, my heart felt like a hidden time bomb. Exploding in my chest in an instant, I parted my dry lips, wanting to say something, but found that even my tongue was tied. I couldn't get a single word out. It was too much information, hard to digest all at once. The Quengsu suddenly took 2 steps forward and hugged me tightly, burying her head in my chest. After a long time, I heard her make a compromise that sounded like a sigh. Yuandi, let's make up. Let's stop torturing each other, okay? Someone as proud and arrogant as the Kingsu when her life. Had she ever used such a humble tone to beg someone? It felt like the air around us was completely sucked dry because of her words. I finally realized what I should do at this moment. I'm sorry, I said with reddened eyes, finally saying those 3 words that I had owed her for 6 years since the night we broke up. The Kyunchu's body trembled slightly, and she slowly loosened her arms. Before she could finish, I lowered my head without hesitation and suddenly kissed her lips. That night, with my role prioritized, I naturally, without suspense, stood Guanxian up. So when I leaned against the headboard and saw the bombardment of unread messages from Guanxian, I felt a bit guilty in my heart. What are you looking at? So engrossed, the Kyungsu leaned lazily against my chest, propping her head up with one hand, a friendship termination letter from Guanxian. The Kyungsu let out an extremely disdainful snort. Seeing her look of being slighted but refusing to admit it, I suddenly had a flash of inspiration and teased her very smugly. That day at the buffet restaurant, you were actually so jealous, your back teeth were almost grinding to dust, right? Don't think too highly of yourself. She immediately resumed that noble and cold iceberg face. An opponent of his level isn't even worth my notice. So confident. He just confessed his love to me on WeChat a moment ago. The next second, the Kansu bolted upright, snatched my phone away, and with eyes like X-rays, scanned through the entire chat history. Then she expressionlessly threw the phone back. Utterly boring. Actually, Guanxian had just sent a bunch of nonsense calling me a traitor for love and then telling me to good luck on my own. With my prank successful, I was so happy I laughed out loud in bed. The Kiansu suddenly flipped over, pinning me down beneath her nose against mine, and gave my lower lip a punishing little bite. If you ever dare to use such a lame trick to test me again, the consequences will be very ugly. I laughed quite recklessly. We're completely different people. If we could really make do together, we would have been together back in college. Her face visibly darkened like the bottom of a pot. Before I could even laugh out loud, I suddenly felt a chill in a certain part of my body. My weak spot had already been seized. The next morning, I packed my luggage and stood in the hallway with my suitcase waiting for the kid. Isn't this Siwon's boyfriend? Why are you standing here all alone? That guy Zhao Ran appeared out of nowhere, walking up to me with his hands in his pockets. You can eat whatever you want, but you can't just say whatever you want. He and I are just good friends. Zhao Ran smiled indifferently, his eyes full of contempt for me. Don't be nervous. It's just a joke. I saw it a long time ago. There's absolutely no chemistry between you two. I twitched the corner of my mouth, really not bothered to deal with his clumsy attempt at small talk. But I see between you and our professor, the magnetic field is quite special. I raised an eyebrow non-committally. He gave a mysterious smile. I've seen your photo. I propped one foot against the wall and gave a very perfunctory "Oh, is that so?" On the high school hunk election poster. Zhao Ran was choked by my sheer shamelessness. I gave him a very arrogant eyebrow raise, just lightening the mood. He continued, his face looking a bit uneasy, trying to save face. He continued, when we were doing a project abroad, I borrowed some notes from Professor. There was a photo of the two of you tucked inside. I was slightly stunned. This indeed touched upon my blind spot. So you two were high school classmates. I had had enough of his sarcastic tone and went straight to the point. Are you interested in the Kyungsu? That's right. He admitted it more readily than I expected. I shrugged indifferently. Then you have no chance for the rest of your life. She's mine now. Zhao Ran sneered, his gaze scraping over me from head to toe. It's like seeing a ghost. How could a genius like her take an interest in a mediocre piece of work like you at this kind of harmless personal attack? I didn't even bother to lift an eyelid. I walked over, patted his shoulder, and gave him a sincere lesson. Brother, losing to an ordinary handsome guy like me, you really don't need to feel inferior. This is called fate. Zhao Ran was dumbfounded, directly stunned by my extremely shameless remark. After a long silence, he finally laughed out of anger. Shaking his head, he said, I think I understand now. She just likes your rogue energy. I originally wanted to go say a formal goodbye to Professor Dip, but now it seems this trip is entirely redundant. I didn't respond, catching a glimpse out of the corner of my eye of the Kyungsu walking toward OS. I wish you to a lifetime of torturing each other. Zhao Ran didn't wait for the Kyungsu to get close, turning around and entering the elevator quite stylishly. The Kyungsu frowned, glancing at Zhao Ran's departing back. What did he want with you? He was just here frantically praising how handsome I am. A cold laugh escaped the Kyungsu's lips. She reached out and pinched my cheeks hard, pulling them apart. Yuan, do you have a single honest word in your mouth? I grimaced in pain and gave her a world Shitorin eye. Since Zhao Ran himself had admitted defeat, why should I bother being a gossip in front of the Kyungsu? Let that kid keep his last bit of pitiful self. When your iron-blooded master supervisor transforms into your official girlfriend, will your grad school life become smooth sailing because of it? To this, I can only say you're dreaming. I looked at the Kyungsu with a look of despair as she reviewed my graduation thesis with a deep frown. That feeling of extreme humiliation was simply more terrifying than making me run naked around the playground. Streaking is just embarrassing at most. But having a thesis criticized is like having my IQ rubbed into the dirt. In the acknowledgement section at the end, cross my name out immediately. I gave a guilty, hollow laugh and leaned in like a sycophant to massage her shoulders. She stared at me expressionlessly. I'm serious. I instantly felt like a deflated balloon. Is it really that eyesore? She rubbed her temples irritably. Leave it there. I'll stay up tonight to do a major overhaul for you. Tears almost shot out of my eyes. I gave her a hard peck on the cheek. The Kyungsu, do you know, those are the most damn touching sweet words you've ever said in your life. She wiped her face with the back of her hand in disgust and pushed me away for a great kindness like being a second parent. Are you only going to say thank you verbally? I was stunned, then immediately understood. If it were any other woman, they might want a gift. But the Kyungsu isn't short of money. She's not after things at all. She's purely after me. For the sake of my grad school plans, I went for it. I immediately yanked off my shirt with one hand, flexed my waist and abdomen, revealing my faintly visible ABS. In that case, then this handsome guy will offer himself to you. The Kyungsu instantly burst out, unable to hold back her laughter. Then she stood up and wrapped her arms around my neck. Then I'll gladly accept. The end. Thanks for watching.